Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to be here this afternoon in the Brazilian sauna. So hopefully we will all make it, right? I mean, it's not that hot, so hopefully it will be fine. So this is our topic today, teaching online, tips and tricks. I'm here to share with you some of my experience with my own company, some of the studies I've done, and some tools that may help you, hopefully. There'll be a chance for you to ask questions at the end, but if I'm speaking too fast, or if you don't understand something, or if I don't make myself very clear, please feel free to interrupt me, okay? So we're going to start with the game. So I don't know how many of you know this, probably quite a few. It's a favorite if you're doing blended learning. So if you've got students in front of you or trainees, I find it quite an interesting tool. So it's called Kahoot, and you have different modes for the game. We're going to do the classic one because we're just going to do a quick survey. So this is what I call feeling the temperature. So the room temperature, I want to, pun intended. So what you need to do is to use the pin to connect. So there you go, that's the pin. So just go to Kahoot on your mobile phones. Kahoot, and then, just go to Kahoot and then you say play game, and then you put in that code. So get your phones or your tablets or whatever it is that you have that's got. So give it a couple of minutes for you to log in. You don't have to sign up, just go Kahoot and then put in the pin. And the Wi-Fi code is here, it's Gerência 2016 if you need the Wi-Fi. Okay, some people are signing up. So we've got Valeria, C, Thais, Tanya. Eight players. There are many more people in this room. Come on, guys.
Connection, waiting.
You want to try the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I am connected.
Oh, okay.
Well, thanks.
11 people. Yeah. Anyone that's still trying to log in, please raise your hand if you're still trying. Okay, I'll give it a couple more minutes.
What's the password?
Right there.
Okay, but
The Wi-Fi.
the Wi-Fi.
Gerência, actually, not Gerência. Believe me, there's the end. Not there, yeah, but the password is with the end.
But it doesn't appear in the water.
13. Oh, someone left. I'm gonna get in as well. It's just, no, okay. Gerência 2016 Act.
But gerência is with a capital G. Okay.
Capital G. I've just realized it's
Sir, did you manage?
It's probably with an N. But I think there's a type of N, right?
Oh, you're not connected. Okay. Do you want to use it?
Okay.
Do you want to use it?
That's okay.
Probably Disal. Does anyone know what the network name is?
Disal Pinheiros.
Disal Pinheiros.
I was using the wrong
Can't
one.
find it?
Alright.
Okay, you're gonna get the idea. Just looking at the screen, you can make a note of Kahoot, but with any piece of technology, we need to be patient. So, shall we start?
Yep.
It's very short, just a quick survey. First, I want to know how long you've been teaching English. 20 seconds. I need to Okay, so we've got, wow, okay, 11 people that have been teaching English for over 10 years. And then quite in the middle, we've got 2 and 3 people, 5 to 10 years. And one person who's completely new. Welcome to the wonderful world of TEFL. Please don't give up yet. So, I mean, you can see a lot of people have been doing this for a long time, so it is good fun. Okay, so next question. Are you ready?
Yep.
How long have you been teaching English online? Five seconds. Oh, okay. So the numbers have dropped a bit, expectedly. So we've got 1 to 5 years as the top. Okay. 2 people that have been doing this for 5 to 10 years, and 1 person who's been doing this for. Can I ask who this lucky person is? Who's been doing it for more than 10 years? Who's been teaching online for more than 10 years? What? ICQ. Yeah, or on Orcus, right? Yeah. Okay, I've been teaching online for just over 10 years. So, but yeah, not many people have. So that's quite interesting. All right, next one. You ready?
Yes.
Happy birthday. What are your main interests in online learning? Okay. Oh, okay. So most people just want to learn more about everything. I kind of expected that. And 4 people on online pedagogy, and then 1 person on asynchronous learning. Interesting. Okay. Last but not least, who follows English This Way on Instagram? Oh, someone made a mistake. Okay. So, some nice people saying they're going to start following. 5 people, no thanks. Okay, all right.
All right.
And 6 people are not on Instagram. I was going to make the question, what's Instagram, right? I just put this here on purpose because Instagram, I have found, is where a great portion of your future online learners live. So this is a good market opportunity. So if you are here in the I'm not on Instagram, it may be just a tip for you to maybe choose to be there, because there are a lot of learners there. Okay, thank you very much for this. So this was just to really feel the room temperature and see where people are here. So I can maybe tailor the session on one side to another depending on these answers. Okay, so a little bit about me. I've been in TEFL for over 20 years, so it's a bit sad. That's all I've done all my life. I started teaching English when I was 15. So yeah, I was a student, and then I got invited. Oh, do you want to teach these children? There were 4 children. Oh, we'll put you on a teacher training course, and that was the end of it. I've never stopped since then. So I started teaching face-to-face, and then throughout the years, I started fiddling with online learning. Online learning came to me mostly when I decided to go to England, because I didn't want to lose students. So it was a practical decision, and I wanted to continue teaching some of my students, and I said, do you want to do it over Skype? I had no idea what to do, but I thought, okay, let's just give it a go. So I moved to England, and I continued with 2 students. 2 of my students continue with me on Skype, and since then it's been quite a learning curve. So I'm a teacher trainer as well. I'm a Trinity College London examiner, so I travel examining teachers and students all over the world. I'm a bit of a crazy aunt, so I have a 6-year-old niece, and I love her to bits. I'm a schizo skier. That's my partner telling me I like skiing very fast when I'm scared. So, which means that when I started skiing most of the time. And I'm a ginger lover, so I've got a ginger man and a ginger cat at home. An Irish partner and an English cat called Lester. And that's after the cheese, that's very orange, because it's ginger. So there you go. And there you can see my qualifications. I'm a project manager. I've got an MA in Applied Linguistics. I've got Delta, Celta, and I did my BA in teaching at PUCI. PUCI. It's so hard. PUCI. When you say it in English, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. And I also did Impretec. I did that. I put it here because I think it's important. If you are an online teacher, there are chances that maybe one day you would want to set up your own business if you haven't yet, because that's really the way forward. And that's a course that's very interesting here in Brazil for you to learn about entrepreneurship. So I recommend it. It was really good when I did it. Okay, so what are we going to cover today in an hour? Okay. Bit challenging. I tried to get a little bit of everything to try to give you an overview, but we'll see how we get on, right? But like I said, so the aim is to really give you an overview on the latest pedagogy and some of the tools I have been using, I have tested, and then hopefully at the end there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions, and I've got a couple of gifts for you, so we'll see. So this is the plan. We're going to start with a bit of let's say theory and understanding of maybe what to do next. So it's your reading list for after today. We're not going to spend too much time on theory today for obvious reasons, but I'll just recommend some interesting readings that I think could help you become a better online professional. And then we're going to talk a little bit about synchronous and asynchronous learning. And finally, some platforms and tools and resources. And finally, some questions. So we're going to start with Bloom's taxonomy of learning. Just a show of hands, who's familiar with that? I've heard about it, that's good.
Yeah.
Heard about it, okay. So a taxonomy is anything that is used to categorize things. So if you want to categorize a system, you can have a taxonomy, and that goes with learning as well. So it's not learning theory, but it's a way to categorize things. This is what I base the methodology for my courses on. So I'm going to show you now. I want to go to the methodology bit to exemplify what I mean by Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, so while it's loading, there are 3 pillars basically that I decided to incorporate into my courses because I really believe that really works for adult learners. So I have experimented with teaching children online. I'm still in that phase. So maybe in a couple of years I'll come back here with teaching kids online, but I'm not there yet. But this works for adults in my experience. So you've got 3 pillars that you follow. The first is to understand. So you basically have, I want to show you this. Have you got it? Yeah, can you see it? Okay. So what is the first pillar? Understand and? Remember. What I put there are some activities for people to understand. What kinds of activities can be used in that stage when you're trying to look at understand and remember? Okay. Yeah, unfortunately. Here we go. So here you have some examples of activities that can foster understanding and remembering, which would be the first phase. So when you teach anything, the first thing you need to make sure students do is understand what you're trying to tell them and hopefully remember some of that, because maybe they understand it but they won't remember. So we're talking about retention of knowledge as well. Then the second phase is to analyze and apply, and there are some activities there as well. So for example, social media is a good example of how you can analyze things and apply. So I use a lot of social media with my students for them to look at content, analyze the content, maybe answer a question or participate in a discussion, and then respond to that content. Okay, so there's the analysis bit and the minutes they apply when they respond. And then finally, creation and evaluation. So this is the part where the students will be actively engaged in creating even their own content. If you are not on Instagram, I'm going to say it again, it's a good opportunity to see there are many students out there using Instagram as a learning diary, which is fascinating. So students posting about what they're learning. So they use Instagram as their notebooks, because they can put everything there. They can put videos, they can put pictures, they can put comments, study tips. So, and then lots of people following them. So it's good for their ego as well. So this is about the taxonomy of learning. Now, the connection between this and a learning theory, which is the next point that I want to make, is that a learning theory is, you're probably familiar with behaviorism, constructivism, yeah? So this is the new one, which is not so new anymore. 2004 was when people started fiddling with this. So Siemens and Downs. Connectivism, I try to highlight some of the keywords, and like I said to you, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of theory, but I really think you should read about this if you are interested in online learning, because it's basically the theory of chaos, which we are living in. So that's when you are sitting there or you're trying to teach students and they're on their phones, not listening to you, because there's something more interesting elsewhere. Or maybe they go home and they don't do the homework in the notebook the way you asked them to do it, because they were busy with something else that was more interesting. So there's a lot going on, and that's not just for, let's say, teenage or young adults. That's for everyone. Yeah, think about how much you use your phones every day, how many WhatsApp groups, family groups, and friends groups you have there, people messaging you videos and funny things. So this is happening to everyone, and this is creating a bit of chaos, or has already created a bit of chaos. And collectivism is about us understanding how to teach students in the middle of chaos, in a network. So connectivism is also about the tools and how learning happens outside the individual. So it could be roboticized. Learning can be roboticized. There's artificial intelligence being explored for learning. As you know, the Google, I think Google have already launched the translator device, which you can use. So maybe we will all lose our jobs soon. You never know. It's about $200, I think. So it's not that expensive if you think about it. But then, you know, where is language learning going to go? And of course, it's very complex, and these self-organization theories occur in nebulous environments. So it doesn't look very promising, does it? So that's why we're here, to try to understand how to teach in that landscape. So we could just pretend it's not happening. Oh no, just continue teaching in the classroom. Maybe, you know, some people, oh, I prefer the face-to-face interaction. I've heard this a lot of times. Oh, you know, oh, online doesn't work. It's not for me. But I think in the near future, if you're not teaching online, you may not be teaching at all.
And not be learning.
And that too, yeah, of course, because it is, this environment is not only for the students, it's for us too, yeah? Which means we have to try to keep up with a number of things. So what I'm trying to do here is to share with you some kind of way to organize, to show you some kind of organized chaos. We'll see if I can get there.
If it's possible.
Yeah, I think the way I see it, the minute you understand all the pillars and then you start choosing things you want to exploit and explore, then you know you create your own path. And I'm not suggesting you should do anything like I did, but I'm going to share with you some of the things that have worked. Right, so this one here, you will be quizzed at the end. I will test your memory to see how much you remember.
All right.
Of course not. I don't expect you to remember any of this, but it is another tool for you to look at. So it's called, some people call it iPedology, and there's iPedagogy, or the Pedagogy Wheel, which is the official name. Yeah. So this Pedagogy Wheel was designed based on a number of apps. So it's for iPads. So not all apps here would work for Android, or of course this is very specific for Apple products. However, you can find equivalents of different tools for Android, for desktop. So that this is just for you to understand how to design better learning outcomes. So I put here the 3 points that I think are relevant for this wheel. The first one is to understand how to design learning outcomes. So if you're going to teach a student, I want to learn English. Okay, what do you want to learn English for? Let's check your level. So you do probably a needs analysis? Yeah? How many of you do a needs analysis before you start teaching? Yeah? So that's common practice, common good practice. So you do a needs analysis to check what's going on, what the student needs to learn, and then you're going to design a syllabus, or you're just going to buy a course book from Disal, which you could do, which is fine. But if you want to do something that's a bit more tailor-made, you will probably need to think about the syllabus, and you will probably need to think about the learning outcomes. Even if you are using a course book, you will need to think about what is my student going to get at the end of this lesson. Yeah? And as we all know, everybody's very busy, nobody's got money, everyone wants to learn yesterday. You see propagandas of people teaching English in 3 months or 6 months, you know, all the stories, everyone's singing and you're like, how? It's impossible. But our job is to try to maximize learning and to make students maximize their time as well. So if you understand more about this, you will be understanding more about how to design better learning outcomes for your students. And of course, how to select apps and make learning more interesting. So as part of English This Way courses, what we do, I showed you the example activities under each pillar. We use this to tailor the course design of pretty much any course, teacher training inclusive, so that through using the apps and the tools, students start seeing a different way of learning. And then sometimes it doesn't feel like learning anymore because they're enjoying themselves and they're doing things that, oh, I do that for my work, or I use this tool for something else. And then they start making different connections and you start getting their interest. So that's the pedagogy. So at the end you get references and you will get a link to this, so don't worry too much. Right, so let's talk about synchronous learning now. What is it? Anyone?
I'm guessing it has something to do with synchronicity, doing things at the same time.
Synchronicity,